Okay, lastly, I actually want to do QQQ individually, just have my own video for it, because it's weird. You don't want to discount what's happening here on this weekly candle, but you also need to think about, and this is what I've been saying, timing is everything, right? How bearish everyone is, how everyone is waiting for this massive short that they think is going to come, but also everything happening right before tech earnings. And look at where we're at, right? I know this is a nasty weekly candle, but look at how quickly we traded down, right? I've talked about time and context is everything, how quickly we traded down on this weekly candle, right? And look exactly where we're coming into. This previous all-time high area, right? This is from back in December where we kind of broke it a little bit, pulled back, flagged, and then ripped, and obviously had that breakout, and then really didn't retest that zone ever again. We just kind of progressively made our way up. Now, right, we're getting this big breakdown into this, once again, this great risk reward spot. All of tech is now discounted going into tech earnings. A lot of people are now extremely bearish and looking for that massive short, right? Which, to be fair, they might have caught it last week, but I personally think this is a really good spot, right? This is what my theory has been, is discounted calls going into tech earnings, right? I think QQQ, off of that spot I just mentioned, I think this is a beautiful long back up to like 423.40, right? This would be a retest essentially, and this would look a lot more familiar for a lot of people if we traded this in a bullish fashion. So I'm just going to inverse this chart. Take a look, right? It's pushing into that key spot. Naturally, you would think what? Push up, rejection, pullback, base the gap that we had just filled, right? And then maybe a continuation back up. And it wouldn't be one fell swoop, it'd be something like this, right? And then obviously trading into these other pivots on the chart. Take a look though, right? This looks exactly what will happen. I think we're going to get a bounce off of 413. We'll just round it. 408 would probably be risk on this something, and obviously if it breaks under that, you'd be looking for shorts on pops, obviously, but and this is still a short on pops in my opinion. Depending how tech earnings go, right? If it's weak, right, and a lot of names miss, and everything kind of just doesn't come out exactly as we had hoped, then yes. But for now, I really do think that this ends up retracing and testing this old gap fill here. I'll remove the blue line, but I think it just pushes up and retests this gap, which would be bearish progression at this point now at 425. I think we get a really strong recovery this week. I think the EMAs are going to be up here as well, so maybe a day or two of just consolidation here at 413. I really do think this ends up pushing back up to that spot. Now it's very interesting too. I just want to duplicate this tab really quickly and slide it over. Right, dark pool prints here on QQQ. The highest aggregate level is actually 438.92. But going into the close, there was 14 prints at 423.3, right? That was that blue line that I actually had marked out. If we take a look, right, this would be a push all the way back up and essentially coming to this candle low right here. We'll just put it right here, right? So pretty close to that retest, right? Pretty close to the 425.70 retest of the bottom gap. Like I said, if we consolidate 1 or 2 days, I assume this 9 EMA, which is the green line, will kind of flatten out right around 425, 423. So yes, I expect liquidity obviously to reign supreme in this kind of this area. I expect a lot of these names to recover. Of course, too, man, like I just talked about, right? Like a lot of names sold off in dramatic fashion to areas of discount, right? I mean, take a look at NVIDIA here. This looks like a brutal candle, but once again, pushing down into this gap right here. This isn't, I mean, technically it is a peg candle, right? So this is a peg that would obviously be defended first. A lot of buyers are looking, more than likely going to be looking to defend 742.20 in same exact scenario, right? Bounce, I expect a retest of this old gap here. And obviously from there, that would be your lower high, and we could look for continuation back down into the gap. AMD, right? We know that there was the hourly gap here. There was a big dark pool buyer at 144.80. Same exact thing. I'm expecting a recovery on that. SMCI, guys. SMCI is a big one here, pushing down to the bottom of this little zone here, which was essentially the higher low that started the push out for a new higher high. So I'm expecting this to kind of hold right around here, right? 693.34. I suspect 700 would be a major psych. What is this more than likely going to do? In my opinion, break down, bounce, push up to the top of the gap here, maybe a recovery out. I don't know. There's a gap up here at like 714 or something like that. So just a lot of names, right? A lot of names. Meta, What is it doing? I suspect this is going to hold this gap, but even if it fills this gap, right, off 469, that in my opinion is once again a long, right? We rejected this one, we pulled down. I suspect maybe we get something like that. This is a long. I think we can climb out and make our way back up. Obviously, from here, we would have a change of character. We'd be looking for lower highs, but I'm not going to be looking to go short on QQQ this week. At least, not until earnings prints come out. Until those come out, I'm actually looking for long the dip mode on QQQ. Amazon, another good name here. Unfortunately, right, it didn't really give a retest. We've seen, and I've talked about this, context and timing. A lot of these names are in a hurry to trade to their gap fills, right before earnings. It's not a mistake that it's doing this. Normally, you would see structural lower highs in 4 or 5 days of retests of things and then a breakdown. This is not giving that time, right? Everything's kind of pushing down into these bids down here, and obviously you're having selling tied into that as well. But it's very low selling on a lot of these names, to be honest, except for Friday's price action. So yeah, I mean, I could see this filling too. If this fills, there's going to be buyers at 170.23, right? And then I suspect we get a nice bounce on that as well. Of course, once again, you'd be looking for the lower highs. But dude, I'm telling you guys, a lot of these names in tech are looking pretty good, especially considering where we're at on QQQ. I think we see some pretty good strength, before, right? Especially in some of those names that I just mentioned before. But I'm going to be using that as my barometer. And really, I know it sounds weird, I might look for a breakout long. If we can get, maybe let's say we open flat, I might look for longs off of 412, 413 and risk 408. So, a 4-point drawdown on that. I wouldn't go very heavy if I start light here. But really, there's a 4-hour / daily trigger. I'm on the hourly just to show it a little bit better. Right around here, right? Let's just grab the low. Oh my God, it's not snapping. Right around there, right? If we can somehow, it's not snapping, guys, I'm sorry. There we go. 416.79. I think if we get above 416, right, I would size into this trade. So maybe start something if we end up being flat here, pulling into this like demand zone at 408 to 412. I keep saying 412, 413. I would happily start a position further dated out, maybe 2 weeks out. But, of course, if we end up pressing up, we get above this hourly 4-hour level, right, I would look to go long and kind of add into that position. And of course, right, my risk could be here at 413. And I think we can actually trend up, right? And I'd be looking to get out of this trade right around that dark pool print, that signature print that we saw, around 423.30 or 423.50. I don't remember what it was. Oh, okay. 423.30. So 423.30, I would probably be out there and leading right into this gap. And then I would leave runners, right? Because this is now a bearish progression gap. I would expect sellers to be sitting here so we can change this to red just to kind of visually help us out. And yeah, I mean, this would be a tough climb out unless we have some fantastic earnings reports. And obviously, we start to see buyers accumulate those lows on a lot of those discounted names. Remains to be seen. But yeah, man, this is kind of what I'm looking for on QQQ. So just quick and easy. Hopefully it gets you in, gets you guys out. If you guys want to copy my levels, feel free to do so. But I am not looking to go short.